So, my friend, I want to ask you, have you been listening to some of my podcasts for a while and identified for yourself all the areas that you feel your business could be better in? Maybe you just are so busy you haven't yet mastered the working as much as you like bit. Or maybe you're just not bringing in the money, like you're struggling with the income, or it's just not enough. Well, it's time for us to have a conversation. In the show notes, there is a link to my evolution call. If you're a dance boss and you are ready to take action, let's have a chat and let's see where I can take you. Hello and welcome, lovelies, to the Ultimate Dance Business Podcast. My name is Deborah Laws, the dance business expert. My passion is to help you turn your passion into profit while guiding you to work less and earn more. I'm super excited to share interviews with you that I know will inspire and motivate you in your schools, as well as my solo shows where I shall be sharing some great tips and strategies. So if you love the show, please do remember to review, subscribe, and share it with your fellow dance boss friends. So let's get stuck into the business of dance. Hello, folks. Thank you for coming back and joining me today on the Ultimate Dance Business Podcast. I am very excited because I have our friend and wonderful entrepreneur that she is, Rosina Andrews, joining us again. Because actually, Rosina, we decided that the discussion of competitions needed more than just one podcast, didn't we?
Yes, we did, like a little mini series kind of was the vibe. Yeah.
A mini series. And indeed, since we last spoke, I think you now have launched your own podcast.
I have. I think so, yeah. I don't know if it was before or after the last one, but I think since the last time people listened to me and you chatting away, yes, the podcast is out there. Yes.
Amazing. And tell us about it. Where can they find
You
it?
can find it on all of the podcast channels, so Amazon, Spotify, it's also on YouTube, and Apple Music. Always forget that one. Oopsie. And it's Dance Smarter, which someone did say to me, Dance Martyr, but no, Dance Smarter. I need to sort my diction out. And it's just a little bit. It's the first series is definitely kind of a touch-in for dance teachers, dance mums, dance students. It's kind of a bit of a mishmash of everything, but yeah, it's been going really well, and it's nice to be back on this podcast as well.
Oh, fantastic. And I love the Dance Martyr. I think maybe that's another whole podcast.
I was going to say, depending on where you look at it, I guess.
Well, look, we were talking about running competitions, and the last podcast that we did, we were talking all about that. And really, we realized that there's so much more to talk about. So we are going to do a series of 3 of these. And this is the kind of the middle one. And today we're going to talk about, okay, we've started our comp team, we've established it,
Yep.
it's going reasonably well, but maybe it's starting to get a little bit tough now, keeping the momentum, keeping the fresh vibe, keeping the enthusiasm, maybe for you or for your students. And actually, we've both had a really busy couple of weeks, haven't we? And I will admit to all of you, lovely people listening right now, that Rosina both came on a little bit frazzled, kind of saying, so what are we talking about? What are we doing here? Like, didn't even know which foot to put our socks on. So we just decided to just go with the flow, didn't we, Rosina, and just have a
chat. And actually, I think sometimes that's when the best bits come out, is when it's completely organic. So yes, this is definitely about maintaining momentum in competitions. I think it's something dance teachers and I think students, I agree, will also struggle with.
Yeah. So let's take a kind of a case study scenario. Somebody started their comp team. They had quite a few kids interested that signed up. They've done a few competitions. Maybe they've done quite well. Maybe you've won some trophies, some medals. Maybe you haven't.
Yep.
Maybe parents are starting to get a bit despondent. Maybe some are happy, some aren't. Talk me through where you go if that's you as a studio owner and you're starting to feel a bit, how do we keep going?
I think the way that like you said, we've been doing, let's say case study A has been doing it for this amount of time. It was interesting that the final part of your list of things was the parents are getting a bit despondent. And I think that is probably biggest part of this whole situation that we have to deal with as dance teachers, is the sense there's also like pride for us. Say a student has won a trophy, or maybe for 6 months there is no trophies, which who knows, it's not necessarily about the trophy, but as human beings, if there's a trophy there to win, naturally we're going to want to lean towards it. If you've had to really persuade the parents to pay more for competitions and travel for weekends, and they don't begin to see like the rewards of what they're doing, because they're not, if they're not dance teachers, they won't see all the subconscious rewards that they're getting. That would be for me the moment that it's will possibly get stressful, because of the fact that that's where we begin to get our pride kind of damaged as teachers. We also sort of think, oh, I wish you could see what you are gaining, but we're having to communicate what they are gaining with the parents. So I would say that is one of the biggest things I would say, and it's kind of like consistently communicating with that parent about all the things they're gaining other than said trophy. I think the other thing that we might kind of I say like get bored of maybe is creating and creating and creating constant pieces for choreography. Because if we're not used to that and we don't have a team that does that, 20 solos that need refreshing every year, possibly, and 20 is perhaps a very like pessimistic number. I think there's probably way more than 20. That's a lot of pieces to come up with. That's a lots of bits of music. And I think because of that, we get a bit dry on what we're having to create, which then probably in turn leads to less wins, less trophies, more despondent parents. So I think it's about maintaining inspiration as a teacher and a choreographer. That's gonna help everything, really.
Yeah, and especially if those 20 solos are all baby ballet under five, like how many more times can we put four gallops and a step and point together in a different
Absolutely.
order?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's about also in that case, when it is baby ballets and things like that, it's just maintaining the fact that to this child, this is the best thing ever. It's like, it might be my 500th junior tap solo, but it's this kid's first junior tap solo. So it's sort of like changing your mindset as a teacher, being like, okay, so whilst I am bored of this song, this is the best thing that's happened to this kid. I always say sometimes I feel like Father Christmas when you give out like the solo to the kid that's never had one, and you see their eyes light up, but then deep down in the back of your head you're thinking, I haven't a flipping clue what junior modern piece of music I am going to give this kid that's like fresh. So yeah, I think that's really important.
Yeah, yeah. And so that is interesting actually. Let's flip it to see like just put ourselves in their shoes in terms of, are they looking at the solo that you've choreographed for them thinking, well, this has been done 10 times, Deborah, or are they looking at it thinking that it is just completely brand new and fresh? And I think when you can do that, it takes the pressure off you a little bit to feel like you're creating new content all the time. But I mean, you talked about feeling inspired and finding the music and like top tips, Rosina, on how we stay inspired and keep finding music. Like, where do you get your music? Where do you get your inspiration?
Oh, top tips on finding music. It's the hardest thing. And I think it's one of those things that the more you get into being a choreographer or being known for creating good competition pieces, that the pressure of finding that exact track just gets more and more. Where do I find my music? I really enjoy the Spotify function of songs you may like. I like that one because it seems to put other people's music in front of me that I wouldn't necessarily listen to. Obviously, that's based on your algorithm. So currently, like we listen to a lot of like I think I think people have probably guessed we quite enjoy a bit of an Ibiza party, me and Sam. So it's a bit of like Ibiza rave music, cross nursery rhymes, cross obviously I do a lot of lyrical contemporary pieces. So it's a very mishmash of a playlist, but it does come, the odd piece does pop out. So it's a lot of like listening in the car, having music constantly playing. But then I do know I don't personally do this because I don't watch a lot of films and TV, but some of my faculty that do teach choreography, they're like, oh, I stumbled upon this track. It was in Grey's Anatomy or it was here and there. So I think it's about allowing ourselves the freedom to listen to music, not because we have to find a track. And I think when we only have limited amounts of time, is there a system that we can do with this, Deborah? Is there an automated music system we can create here? I think it's about not just being like, I've got to sit down and find music, because that's when it doesn't come to us. So it's about external factors and things like that. I think the other thing is just I always say to teachers, be really careful about using Shazam at competitions. I like that app. I think it's brilliant, and I have definitely used it in the past, but I do worry that it has a bit of a negative connotation. If people hear you or see you using it, they're like, "You're gonna copy me." But also it just means that that idea is not necessarily yours. So I just think stay away from being like, "That's a cool song." Just enjoy the fact it's a cool song. Similarly with YouTube, like you can Google like junior jazz solo and be like, "Oh, that's a cool song." And still that. So I think it's just be a bit more organic to yourself rather than forcing yourself to find music. It's tricky for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely. And of course, my ridiculous business brain had already gone there before you even said it. Oh, could I create a platform where people can go and type in age 5 to 7 modern solo and all these tracks will come? No, Deborah, you do not need another business.
No.
I
Also, I think as a
literally
judge, don't do that because I don't want to see the same pieces all the time.
exactly.
Because
So
even
maybe
if like it was a million, like say millions of tracks, I love that I was also thinking the same thing. Is there something we can do with this? Like you can type in on Spotify like junior lyrical, and the first 20 songs are so overplayed. And I feel like it's not just us that's typing it, I think everyone is. So even type in that track and go to the bottom of the playlist, maybe if you really are stuck. Yeah.
yeah,
The other thing
absolutely.
is sometimes asking the kids what they would like to dance to. I would say definitely the older children for that. The younger ones will just, especially at the moment, come up with K-pop demon hunters. I don't know if you probably haven't had any toddlers or little kids around you recently, but that's the song of the summer. Um, but yeah, I think asking them, oh, what kind of music makes you tick and things like that might help. Yeah.
I don't 100%. And I think, especially sometimes, I think we feel like we have to have complete control over picking music for our students.
Hmm.
Actually, getting an idea from your slightly older students, did you want something more lyrical? Do you want
Yeah.
something more moody this time? Do you
Hmm.
want something a little bit lighter and more upbeat?
Yeah.
Like actually getting some feedback from them so that you've at least got that as a starting point rather than going finding a piece of music that you love eventually 8 hours later and then they kind of go, oh, okay,
Yeah.
so involving them in the process, I think, helps them to own it and love it too, doesn't it?
There's nothing worse than playing that track for the first time and the kid being like, "Oh," and you're like, "I love it." Or you play something that's really iconic, like I don't know, Whitney Houston. They're like, "Who sings this?" And you're like, "Oh, stab me in the heart." Yeah, for sure. It's definitely about. I think also the teenagers don't get much chance to have an opinion on anything these days. So giving them the opinion on the dance or the music that they might quite like is positive. Yeah,
Yeah.
gives them
And
already they love it.
exactly. And I was just going to say, have you ever used that as a strategy? Like, have you ever said to your students, right, I know you want to do a modern song, I know you want a modern solo, I know you want to do a lyrical,
Yeah.
come back to me with 6 choices of music.
Hmm.
And we'll see if even if any of them, none of them really inspire me as your choreographer, I
Yeah.
can at least see the type of thing you like and I'll go and see if I can find something along those lines. Is that something that you've ever done before?
Yeah, I do that quite a bit. Especially this is like 15, 16, 17-year olds. With my method of how I teach dance, by that age they're in the creative phase. So I'm definitely giving them much more freedom of what they can choose. And if you ever go on my Spotify, I feel like a lot of my teachers that are affiliated studios do, that there's like Matilda has a playlist of like hundreds of tracks that she's either added to or I have. And then you can find tracks across those, sometimes again in that whole like, this is the playlist, and then below it is, these are songs that are like that. That's usually where you find the happy medium for what you want versus what they want.
Yeah, absolutely. So that could help us in terms of finding music. But what about choreography then? I mean, how do you stay fresh as a teacher? I mean, I'm guessing that a big part of it is our own CPD, isn't it? And
Mm,
actually getting out there and going to courses,
yeah.
doing classes. Like, what are some of the things that have worked for you, and what do you see some of your clients and customers going
Yeah.
and doing for themselves?
I would say, yeah, the CPD is really important. I think it's about also reminding us as teachers why we dance. I think, sometimes I see teachers that come to my courses that don't want to get up and join in. I'm like, go on, just even if it's for 10 minutes, just do the improvisation exercise that I'm about to do and just remember what it's like to move your body and move, because we get so bogged down with like the teaching and the admin and the business and all of this that we actually don't remember that the reason we started this was because we loved moving our bodies. Um, I think sometimes I find that people that don't, I don't know how to say this, people that don't teach much other than like the one genre that they're into, then have to find themselves choreographing tap or contemporary or something that they're not necessarily like that passionate about, that's when the loss of love for these making up these solos comes. So I think it's always nice to be able to delegate in every part of our world, but delegating choreography to people that if right, for example, I can tap really quite well, but I hate teaching tap, and choreography tap is just not happening for me. So I reach out to others, and obviously we have the ability to do that. I know a lot of people, and the parents understand that you're then investing in an external choreographer, and you're not going to do that with 5-year-olds. But if you are being like stuck with choreography, reaching out to other people to do it is always good. And I always find that, especially if you had a dance school for, let's say, 5-10 years, you've probably got graduates now who have headed off to college, danced, even if it, as some people like to say, just at college, but yeah, you've danced with a selection of choreographers that they can come back and they can fill those gaps for you. And I think that's a really good way of saying, this is my competition team, but it's a group effort. I couldn't imagine. Some people tell me they have to do like 50 solos in the summer, and I personally don't know how they do it. I just couldn't. I think this summer, what have I done? I did 3 mini solos, which is very unlike me, but there I am giving it's good cardio, a mini solo, I'm not going to lie. Mini group and 1 senior solo that actually is a combined effort because she chose the music and she started it, and then now I'm helping her clean it up and create it. So yeah, very minimal when it comes to this summer for me.
Yeah.
No idea why.
I mean, that's kind of an interesting topic, because when I was doing competition work in my schools, I used to choreograph everything myself,
Yeah.
or if a child did a solo with another teacher, then their teacher choreographed it. But I never actually brought in choreographers. So I would love to know, just from my own naivety and lack of experience, how does it work with external choreographers when they don't know the kids and they don't know their ability?
Okay, so yes, that's a valid point. And I think there's definitely a trend at the moment of, especially the big competition studios, hiring the coolest kid they can find, and it doesn't the how much it costs doesn't seem to matter, etc., etc. And that, in that sense, sometimes it works and sometimes it really doesn't, because as you say, they have no idea what these kids can do. So when I say like external choreographers, I'm not saying like let's hire in the choreographer of burlesque in the West End. I mean, unless you know them and maybe they trained at your studio, that would make sense. But like people that are dabbling in choreography that perhaps have taught your students once in a while, or someone who's come to do a masterclass. I actually had a masterclass at the end of last term at Mum's studio, and 3 of the girls just stood out in this genre. I was like, my God, you look great doing this. And it's something that I think it was like Prince. It wasn't a Prince kind of jazz, something I'd never would have done, me personally. And I said to this woman, I was like, do you do choreography for competitions? Like, would you consider the 3 you just picked out that really blend with your choreo, stepping in and then doing them a piece? And she was like, I'd love to do that. So it's sort of like I tested the water first. I think that's really important, rather than just saying, okay, so this person choreographed this winning piece at said international competition, I'm going to hire them, because it may work, especially if you've got older kids who are good receptors to other choreographers. But I'd say get them in for a workshop, see like how they vibe with your studio, whether you have the same ethos, and then hire them.
Yeah.
Because
That makes
you're going to be
a lot
stuck
more
with high level fees if you're hiring the big choreographers. You're going to end up with this wonderful piece that could suit anyone, but it might be like 4 figures probably, which is not what we want to do.
So I thought I would just share with you guys today the planners that I have produced for dance school owners, because these are flying out of Amazon like hotcakes. And if you don't have yours yet, then all you have to do is pop to Amazon and type into the search Deborah Laws, and all 3 books will come up. So the ultimate dance business planner I designed for you so that you had a little bit of a Deborah on your desktop. The planners are full of business training, tips, motivational quotes, things to do at the start of the month, things to do at the end of the month. ways in which you can plan out your marketing and your retention, and they are selling all over the world. So go to Amazon, grab your #1 best-selling Ultimate Dance Business Planner, and enjoy mapping out the growth for your studio. I was just going to ask that actually, in terms of how it works financially. Like, do you say to a student, okay, we're going to get this amazing person in because I think they're going to be the absolute best to give you the best dance, but you're going to pay 4 times as much per hour per lesson?
Yeah.
Or do you, like, how do you make that work financially? How do you pass that cost on?
How do you make that work financially? So if they are having someone that is external, before we confirm anything, I find out the rate that the choreographer wants. I try and no, I don't want to say barter, but if they're like, we need 4 hours for this choreo, I'm like, how about try 2? Because I know my kids pick up really fast. So I'm just like, try 2 hours. And at that point, I have to tell it to the parents, and if they want to go with it, they can. And if they don't go with it, then we just say we'll do someone else. Someone else can come, or we'll do it, or etc. It's kind of a little bit like costumes, when some parents will happily pay £600-700 on a tutu, and others are like, I'll find one on Facebook Marketplace that's secondhand that's 70 quid. I think it's very much about like explaining it to the parent. I know that some studios in America will supplement these big choreographers. I know it's much more of a thing out there to have like the name of So You Think You Can Dance com and choreograph for you, but they are literally you're looking at big money. Like, I remember not looking at bringing someone over, but just being like, I wonder how much it would cost, and it was like 10K for a group dance, and I was just like, I don't see how that's a thing. But they fundraise, they have studios of 700-800 people. If they do one spirit week, everyone buys 2 cakes and dresses up with the pink hair. Maybe that's enough to pay for said choreographer to come in. But I would always be very transparent about how much it's going to cost. And one thing I have heard people do, which I would lean away from, and I think you would also say this, is getting the choreographer, asking the parent how much towards that they would like to pay, and then the studio supplement the rest. I would lean well away from that, because otherwise you're going to go down a rabbit hole of, if you do it for one, you got to do it for everyone.
Of course, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all really interesting, and that's definitely helped in terms of keeping the momentum, keeping your ideas, your inspiration, going to classes if you can in the holidays, just getting out and dancing for yourself, not even necessarily for the sole reason of it inspiring your choreography, but just because it does. Like, it's
Yeah.
beautiful to go out and dance, and it seeps into you when you dance with other people's work, and then you never know when you come to choreograph something where this new idea comes from. And if you actually track it all the way back, it was some great thing that they did with Rosina 2 years ago, but it was just in there. It becomes part of you, doesn't it? And so I
Yeah,
think,
I always find kids seem more inspired when they've come back off like holidays, if they've been to like Tenerife for the week and there's been dance going on in the evenings, or even just a live band and people have been up and moving. That to me is the moment that the kids like, oh, I really like Latin music now. I'm like, yay, we've moved on from, no offense to Billie Eilish, but we've moved on and we've seen there's more to the world. Yay.
so music, choreography, what else do you find sometimes means that we start to lose a bit of momentum with our team?
I think it's the amount of hours that we put in. I'm not going to say for free, because I don't personally do it for free, but I know a lot of dance teachers go, I spent all weekend at a competition and I didn't get any money for it because that was my choice to go and chaperone my kids all weekend. It's the amount of hours that appear to be taken away a weekend if you are at a dance competition. I think that's the bit that begins to suck some energy from people. I think that is very much about knowing what you're saying yes to in advance, because it might appear that it's only one day, but a competition may expand and it be 2 days. Making sure, I noticed a few things this summer, and I don't know if you did too, that people booked a lot of things in advance in the summer. Then when it got to it, they were like, oh wow, I've done course followed by course followed by course followed by summer camp followed by this followed by that, and actually I haven't even seen my kids, and it's the last week of the summer holidays, and I think I'm going to cancel this and I'm going to cancel that. I think it's about knowing in your diary when these are set out, and explaining to your family, your husband, the grandparents who are babysitting again, that this is what's happening. I think sometimes we get carried away with going, oh, all these things look really good, but then overwhelming ourselves. And I see it a lot. I mean, you see it with parents. They book them in for everything now, and then it comes to October half term and they're like, this doesn't work, it's getting dark, it's everything's taken over. So I think being clear with what you're booking, and also being, I don't know, selective, like choose what works for you as a studio. Like I know that I've been doing competitions with a competition team now for nearly 10 years, and I know that it works to have like a couple before Christmas, because it keeps momentum going, and then calming back a bit over any of the Christmas period. Like anyone who thinks they can get their kids to a competition on the 20th of December, I'm like, good going. I can't get my kids to commit to anything anywhere in December, let alone that close to Christmas. And then like one after Christmas, somewhere like February time, and then one later on in May, but not too near to GCSEs, not too near to school exams. You then have to consider if you've got studios that go to things like Dance World Cup or Global Dance Open, when they fit in. And you just got to be savvy with your schedule and what works for you. I think if you don't, that's when you're going to just be overwhelmed with the amount of additional work, even though it doesn't feel like work because you're at a competition, you're backstage, and that's where our heart is. But yeah, just it's going into a Monday if you've done the 2 days at a comp that you're like, whoa, let's go.
Exactly, exactly. And I think the thing is, making sure that when you first start out, it is all new, it is all fresh, it's exciting for you. And especially if you do one competition and you get some pretty good results the first time, you're going to come away like, let's book loads more in. And that is all fair enough. And if you are in a position where you don't have a lot of commitments at home, maybe you're still single and you're still, you've got weekends to yourself, it's really, what are you prepared to do long term? We've talked a lot on the last podcast about sort of starting up your comp team, but what long term, what is that going to look like? How are you going to feel about this in 2 years or in 3 years? Do you have a team that further down the line you could delegate to so that you could then start to step back? Or do you try and set it up so that maybe the parents don't rely on you being there? Or, it is that what you start is much harder to take away from in a couple of years and add to.
Absolutely. Like I'd start small, start less, start like I personally do not say you're going to be there at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning if you really don't think you're going to be there. Like it's easier to just add in and then be like really grateful for what you do add in than be pissed off that you're taking stuff away.
Lastly, let's talk about parents. Like, what happens when you're still going strong and you're loving your new comp team and the kids still love it? And the
Yep.
parents were all in at the start,
Mhm.
but now maybe 2 years in, 3 years in, they're starting to complain about the number of comps, even though it's the same as it has been for the last
Yes.
2 years. And they're starting to say, oh, it's too expensive. Like, in all honesty, if they're saying it's too much and it's too expensive,
Hmm.
but nothing's really changed, this is
Yep.
more to do with the fact that they're starting to lose their love for it. They're starting to lose the momentum. So you talked about being able to keep communicating the benefits. Like, what would you say to those parents and also to the dance studio owners that maybe aren't sure how to
Yes.
communicate those benefits?
I see this happen with the parents for sure. And I see, and we've been doing it a long time. Like some of my seniors have been in comps since they were like 6, and now they're 17. And it's that we are doing basically the same comps. It's a little bit different, and they've obviously evolved in 10 years. But I can see the fatigue on the parents, especially the fatigue on the parents of kids who've had a lovely time, but perhaps haven't come away with the titles or aren't the ones that are getting the scholarships from the things like that. They're the ones that go every time and they're in the group dance and they're doing really well, but they're not coming back with the trophies. But for me, what I've noticed keeps them, and I find it like mad, and I always look at it and I go, is that going to be me with the parents in Zura's like baby ballet class? Are we going to be besties like these mums I've seen grow up? And for me, it's the community of what they do as well as the comp at the comp that keeps them coming. I think if it was just the competition and I was like, none of us are going to be there, there's going to be no assistants there, we're not going to do a group run through at the studio and have pizza after it, we're not going to have anything fun involved except that you stand on stage, do your solo, win a trophy, I'm not sure they'd stick at it. Because I've noticed these times, the kids where they get to stay in a hotel, the parents seem to love that too because they have a social, they go out for dinner, they go for drinks. Like 4 of my seniors and their mums are going to Ibiza tomorrow. Um, I'm like, is that going to be me with the baby ballets? So I think it's about what else you're bringing to the situation that's going to keep them stuck. I think that to me keeps them over the fatigue of, oh God, another weekend, because it's, oh, another weekend. But hey, it's that one in Birmingham and the bull ring's right there. And we love that La Iguana has buy one, get one free cocktails or something. It's keeping that, that's dangerous. It's keeping that kind of fun part of the weekend, I think, is really important. And I think I noticed that as our team, that we've embedded that for a long time. I do sometimes see teams that are quite separate, and I can imagine that must be quite lonely as a parent if you're just going and not having anything really to do. So that would be my way of keeping parents' balls rolling.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
so
I totally love that. And huge value right there, because one of the things that a lot of my listeners hear me saying all the time when it comes to retention, and we're talking about
Mhm.
parent retention here, aren't we?
Oh yeah, well they're the ones that you have to retain.
Retain, of course. Yeah. And when we talk about retention, I'm always saying they come for the class, but they stay for the community. And it's the same here. They come for the comp, but they stay because of the community. And I love that's your approach, and that's what
Yeah.
you've just discussed, because
Yeah, that is my only way I could imagine how I would get those 17-year-olds mums, because it's half of some of them drive themselves to the comp. They don't even, the mum doesn't even have to be there, but I know they want to be in, or they've got the t-shirts on, or they've got the flags, or they've got the we have this thing called competition bingo, and they play that where it's like kid in a red cat suit, tick, dad asleep, tick. Like that keeps them going, and it seems a bit like, wow, okay, but like it's just fun. And I think also, I've talked about this I think before, is the fact that the older girls have a little sister that then they sort of help at the competition, and the mums sort of then jump in with that mum down, and the younger mum learns what the older mums are doing. And yeah, I think it's a really nice way of keeping them going. Also kind of makes them forget about what actually they're winning or not
Costs,
winning. Yeah.
and what it costs as well,
Oh
because
yeah. Oh, for sure. That's
yes,
always a funny one. It's like, I don't want, I only want my daughter to do one solo. Okay, fine. And then you see them and they've stayed at like the bougiest hotel. There's definitely a couple of bottles of wine down. And you're like, you might as well have let your kid do two because you have spent more, but that's not my place. Not my place. And you may have like, I don't know, a pot that says this is for my child's hobby and this is for my general health and well-being and fun. Maybe that's the way it's going. So yeah.
well, let's think that's what it happens is. I think that's really cool, and I really love the whole creating the parent community as much as the kid community, because some of these parents, their children grow up together, and if we can help to facilitate the bonds and the friendships that the parents make, and of course I know not all parents get on. Sometimes the worst case scenario, it can cause problems, but on
Yeah.
the whole, on the whole,
Mm,
if we can create this really beautiful opportunity for these parents to make friends,
yeah.
then all of a sudden when child says, I'm not sure if I want to do competition, yes you do.
I
because
do.
yeah, because I'm going to miss my friends, and I'm going to
Remember
miss
that hotel has a pool.
yeah, exactly. And there's a great masseur in that hotel. I need that one. That all helps as well, doesn't it? So it really is a whole kind of ecosystem, sorry, of the teacher, the students,
Yeah,
the parents, like everybody's got to be involved. And I think when you look at it as a whole, then that's when you're more likely to make it a success. But what I would just say before we start to wrap up is,
absolutely.
underlying all of this needs to be you. Like, you need to come first. What you want your team to be, what commitment you want to put into it, what money you want to earn as an income
Yes.
from this.
Yeah.
And when you put your own needs first and then you develop your comp ecosystem around that, it's going to be something that works, and that's something that you love and brings you pleasure.
I was going to say the other thing I want to jump in there is put your foot down if it's something that you don't want to do. I've just recently had my teachers intensive and they're like, how do you deal with parents who say they want to do this? And I was like, well, they don't, because that's not what we do. And there's maybe another school down the road who does do that. So go there. And they're like, oh, okay. Oh, because we've got this parent who wants this and this parent that wants that. And I'm like, but that's not how, they're not doing what your business wants. I don't go into Starbucks and, hey, is there any who could make me the Costa white chocolate frappuccino? Because they don't sell that. So, like, you've got to stick with what you offer and be that. Not too much off menu, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to talk next time about what happens when you may not want to run your competition team anymore. That's going to be an interesting one. Like, what happens if you've got to a stage in your journey or your life or for your business where it's just not something that you want to offer anymore, and you want to learn about how do I exit carefully this whole kind of competition offering that I give my students without losing all my students. So if you want to find out about that, then you're going to have to tune into our.
I'm excited about that one. I think
Well,
there's a lot of people that are thinking that. So, I mean, there's also parts of me that sometimes think that. I mean, I probably won't, but I'm really excited about that one. Yeah, can you
good.
imagine?
Well,
All these competitions now have no one entering because I talked about the fact that you can do it without. God.
well, it might be that we're going to exit you, but the
Yes.
school carries on doing it. Your teachers take over. There's a lot
Yeah,
of different.
yeah, absolutely. Yes, for
Lots of
sure.
different
Rather
ways that
than
we can.
bankrupt any businesses. Yes,
Exactly.
of course.
Promise not to try and bankrupt anybody. Rosina, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you
Always.
very much. Remind everybody that's listening, just in case this is their first episode that they've listened to, where can we come and find you? Where can we hang out with you?
You can find me at Rosini Ballerini on Instagram, which is Rosini and then Ballerini. Or you can head to my website, which is www.rosinaandrews.co.uk. And on there's a path to progress tool. So you can fill it in and find out kind of exactly what it is you want from me. And then I can help specifically as to your journey. So find me on socials. I'm there most of the time.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Thank you so much. And I look forward to talking to you again to wrap up our little mini series around comps. I hope everybody's finding this really helpful. And, because we're going at it from every angle, I'd like to think that everybody's taking something away from this, whether it's thinking about starting one, managing the one you've got, or working out ways in which we can exit it. I think it's a really valuable discussion. So we are so grateful for you, Rosina.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We wish you all the best, and we'll speak again very soon.
You shall.
So I wanted to tell you that this episode is kindly sponsored by Sally at Dance Studio Marketing, who is your go-to solution for growing your dance school through the power of social media. So if you're feeling overwhelmed at trying to attract new students, at Dance Studio Marketing, Sally helps dance studio owners just like you to leverage the power of social media and paid ads to bring in a steady stream of students, which of course helps you to achieve more balance in your life. So if you're ready to grow with less stress, visit sallyprendergast.com, or you can connect with Sally at Dance Studio Marketing on your favorite social media platform today. My clients are getting fabulous results using Sally. So let's get those ads going and let's get your school growing.